everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Everything is fine here on DetBlock AA23, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Mike, joined by Dustin, here to talk Star Wars with all you fans out there. Just get certain elements out of the way really quick. So if you're listening to us, hit that subscribe button, follow, like, download, rate, review, all of it, any little thing you can do, we greatly appreciate, as it helps get our name out there amongst all the other YouTube channels for Star Wars and podcasts and everything. So again, once we hit our 200 subscribers, we're going to have a little prize giveaway where we'll do a drawing of everyone's name. So make sure you're a part of that so you get included within that drawing. And then as we hit that mark, we'll do another prize at another goal. And we'll continue on with that. So looking forward to growing the channel so that we can expand our community, expand the people we talk with. And on that note, the chat is up and running. So bring us your opinions, ask us questions, anything along the way. So how you doing, Dustin?
I'm doing good. I just read one of the newer, well, I say read, I audiobooked one of the newest main novels of the High Republic, so we can talk about that towards the end, have some thoughts on that.
I'm really
And
curious
then,
about Dustin's opinions on this. And we'll
they
get there.
might shock you.
Oh, okay. That's
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, but we finished the rebuilding the galaxy.
Yep.
A little short kind of 4 episode deal with the Lego thing, and gotta say, last 2 episodes, still fucking loved them.
Absolutely great. I'm so glad Bennett stumbled upon it, or you
Yeah,
stumbled upon it for Bennett, because didn't think we would be talking about the Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy show miniseries, which, in my opinion, they completely opened it up for like a season 2
oh
or
God, yes, dude. Yeah, 100%.
with
I was tickled pink when they kept on going, and there was like, definitely signs that they're going to continue this. As soon as they, let Dev go, or he was, off on his own, I was like, oh yeah. And then the last scene, that was so good.
well, and I mean, I don't know if we need to put spoilers on this because
Yeah, it's been out for
it's
a
been out for a
while.
while, and it's it's not like
It's not really canon.
Mandalorian. Yeah, it's not canon or anything. But I figured that they were going to leave it open once like it was determined that they can't go back to Sig's original galaxy. So that just is like, to me, opening it up to being like, all right, we're going to bring in some more stories within this Lego universe, and I'm all for it. There's so many different places they could go, so many different things that they can do. And
Definitely, would you agree? Definitely a much, much darker tone the last two
oh
episodes.
yeah,
I didn't find
especially
myself
that
laughing
last
as much.
episode.
I didn't find myself laughing as much as I found myself thinking, holy shit, this acting is really good. Like,
Yeah.
why couldn't they pull this off in the actual,
they're,
canon stuff?
they're too afraid to. I don't know. The stakes are too high for them to take those risks, I guess.
Well,
And
and
it's
I'm
not
not
even
saying,
a
okay, here's
risk.
the
It's
thing.
not even a
Yeah,
risk.
but I'm not saying they have to go out on a limb with like the storytelling of course, like flipping the galaxy upside down like they do in this, even though that would be fucking awesome. I'm just saying, I mean, it's so well written, it's so well acted. I mean, it feels like a Lego piece of content, which is a compliment because they've done such a good job with it. Yeah, just absolute 10 out of 10
Does
for
Disney
me.
own all the Lego content?
Well, I don't know. I don't think maybe Fox owns them. I don't know who owns the Lego content. Obviously, there's a licensing fee that Lego would probably
Right.
gladly pay.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to. There's obviously a relationship because they have Lego Star Wars stuff and they've had it forever. So
Which I saw this, speaking of Lego, not to go on a too big of a tangent, but um on YouTube there was this, I'm sure it's elsewhere than just YouTube as well, but it was a special on Lego and talking about like the success from like start to now of the Lego company. and how not too long ago it was like failing pretty bad, but licensing and more specifically Star Wars licensing of certain Lego product really helped bring it back to where it is now, because they're in a good spot again. But previously they just like concentrated on kids, and they were missing out that their bigger market was adults, and especially people that are into
Nostalgic about.
yeah, yep. And not
Yeah.
only that, but like big fans of like Star Wars or big fans of other large franchises that collectors go in on. So Star Wars really helped the Lego product stay alive. And I mean, you just walk through a Target and the biggest things that you see in Lego are mostly like the Star Wars, Harry Potter, those franchises and other license franchises. So
I mean,
it's
Lego is
cool.
such a timeless toy too, as far as like, I mean, you mentioned like it's great for kids, but it's also great for adults,
Yeah.
and it's great for adults like, with their kids. You
Yeah.
know, like I
Well,
know. So Frank, who we've kind of talked about on this podcast before, try to get him on, the guy who went on the Galactic Star Cruiser. Like one
mhm.
of the things that he bonds with this kid is putting together these giant pieces of Lego. Like he put together the was I forget the name of the actual ship, but Darth Vader's Imperial cruiser,
The
the big
Was that
one.
the Devastator? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I thought the Devastator might have been in Last Jedi, wasn't it? The big
That might have been.
monstrosity. Anyway, but it's a great toy, you
Yeah.
know. And
Well,
then that they've turned it into movies and done so well. Like I love like the animation of them, like pew, 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 blowing stuff up, and it's like the bricks like flying apart, and just how creative they were with the storytelling, and like literally involving like what you do with Legos, like
yeah,
how you
that's what
play
I
with
was going to say.
Legos, into like the storytelling, like the breakers and the builders. It's really intelligent, and if they could only find that more in the Star Wars universe, we would be talking about a franchise that's at potentially at the peak.
Yeah, they bring to life what you visualize as you're building and playing with toys, essentially. Uh, and talking about the market being for adults, at least more recently, the like when Lego started to struggle, it coincided with the ramp up of like video games and everything. So
Mhm.
kids were starting to concentrate more of their playing attention towards video games, which pulled away from things like toys, like Legos. But collectors and adults were the ones that really wanted to keep going with it. So, um, but going back to the Lego Rebuild Your Galaxy show that we just watched, you were making the comment about it being like much darker these last two episodes, and I was even thinking that with specifically the fourth episode when they had the when Dev was using like the cornerstone power to like destroy like the fleet and everything. They were
Yeah.
like showing all of these characters just like exploding and dying. And I'm like thinking in my head, our kids are going to be watching this. So I wonder if, I mean, again, it's toys. So I think kids can be okay with that. But yeah, it made it feel a lot darker, which was pretty cool.
Mhm.
And love that we get the Jedi side of it in episode 3. So you get to be introduced to the Jedi, which are a good Darth Vader. You've got Palpatine,
Palpatine, a pussy Palpatine.
Pussy Palpatine.
Seriously,
He was still he was pretty funny though. Yeah, like I don't want to fight
yeah, Jabba, Jedi Jabba,
Jabba. IG. I don't know if it was 11 or
IG-88.
88, one or
Yeah.
the other. You had Lobot, the cyborg guy.
You had
What's the girl name from Rise of Skywalker, the Archer girl? She was one of them.
was she a Jedi, or was that the girl?
She was a
Yeah,
Jedi.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Leia didn't really change. Although
Leia was the only one that really didn't change out of all these characters.
except instead of Han Solo, she was with Greedo.
That was
Which is
kind of a funny
clever.
scene when they were like running to embrace each other.
Yeah.
And Leia just runs by Han Solo.
Because the
and
one
goes
guy
for-
made a comment. He's like, "Oh man, Leia's the only Leia and Han are the same." And then she goes to Greedo. He shot his shot first.
Yeah.
What a great line too.
Yeah. I love all the one-liners. Like they just did a great job of incorporating like standout lines that these characters say and bring them into this new galaxy. Like Palpatine still did "do it."
You
I'm trying to
do
think.
it.
And then at the end they reveal Lando as the Mandalorian, and I knew it was Lando.
The
once you hear the voice.
Landalorian.
The Landalorian.
The Landalorian. That's so brilliant. And then Baby Grogu's
Baby
with him.
Grogu.
Oh, dude, it's so brilliant, man. Hats off. I can't. It's just so cool that we found this. We have something really fun to talk about in the Star Wars universe. I know we talked about that last week, but I just enjoyed watching. I just loved it. I was ready to watch it.
I just remembered the line. What was the exchange when Jedi Bob like opened up about the truth to Sig, and then he said something, and then they were like super happy, and he's like, "You can call me Jedi Bob or whatever," and then he's like,
no, don't
wait, never mind, don't do that. Forget what I just said. I hate it.
Yeah, he's like, I wish I'd never said that.
I'm trying to think of other standout moments that took place. Are there any more top of mind for you? I thought it was cool that the Millennium Falcon had like mini Death Star technology, and then they're like, when Dev was still flying it, he was like, "Now witness the true power of this dark Millennium Falcon," which is the same thing that Palpatine, I think
it's
is
fully operational, is what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Palpatine says that about the Death Star once it's fully operational in the Return of the Jedi. So I thought that was
cool. I thought it was cool when his apprentices turned on him and he was kicking all their asses,
Oh yeah.
They made him really feel powerful.
Yep.
Like he was just, swatting them away.
Yep.
I thought that was good. Again, it's going to bring a lot to. I think they'll just do it next season. Is what they'll do.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be 4 episodes again.
I'm glad they brought back the mercenary Ewoks.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
and C-3PO.
C-3PO.
So was C-3PO like a pirate or something? Is that or
he was a mercenary.
Bounty hunter? Okay,
he was a bounty hunter mercenary.
Okay, so then all the Ewoks were as well, just hired thugs.
I did like in the first couple episodes when he's giving him the odds. He's like, "Why'd you tell me the odds?" That was a dick move. I mean, there's so many lines. They're just like cracking up. This is just brilliant. Like they knew their audience. They knew exactly what they were doing. Very refreshing to see that.
When they were like, "Oh, where's Luke or where's Leia?" And they're like, "Oh, they're having a family. They're having a moment because we just let them know that they're like essentially all related."
Another thing they did really well is when they're like, when Dev was talking about the mole that he had within the rebellion. Yeah. I was trying to figure out who the mole was.
I was too
shocked that it was Han. I didn't necessarily think that. I actually thought it might be Leia, right? Like,
okay.
I thought that was really well done.
Yep.
Again,
who were those?
I just love the.
Were the prisoners still like Jedi, or were they just like?
Yeah, they were all. Remember,
they were like
no, they were rebellion.
They were just
not
rebels.
Jedi, they were rebellion.
Okay.
Because remember the one chick, she's like, I accidentally gave away their entire location. But yeah, so you have Grievous, who he was great. He's like, I can't even describe to you how pissed I am. Ask me how pissed I am. That was really good. You had Yoda.
You had Mace Windu.
Yep.
There was a few others.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like bad guys who would be because
they had Kit Fisto as a bad guy.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a Sith.
Who was the other lady that was? So you had Rey, was kind of like the main. Oh, Rose. Okay, that was Rose.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought. Yeah, I
didn't pick up on that.
I was also Maul. Maul was great.
Who was Darth Tiku? Was that Rose?
Yeah, Tico, because it's Rose Tico. That's her name.
Oh, okay. I guess I never knew her last name.
And she's wearing that. She's wearing the necklace with the like emblem that her sister had in the Last Jedi, if you remember.
No, don't remember that. I found it funny they're like the rebel bait or like the Jedi base was like a little crawler attached to
Oh yeah.
AT-AT leg. And they flew and they're like, is this it?
And then it was sabotaged, so it didn't even get to take off. Han Solo didn't. That
I thought
scoundrel.
Luke was gonna get crushed by Jabba
When
when like it got sabotaged and it leaned back and
oh
Jabba like fell on him.
oh yeah. And Luke did end up using his money that he won on pod racing to hire all those thugs or the
Yeah.
pirates or bounty hunters or whatnot. Oh, it was so great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to when they do some more here, and I don't know. And I thought it was neat too that Sig kind of documented like the old galaxy. So it's kind of like referencing like the movies and everything. Like that's kind of the reference, like
document.
the
Yeah.
documents of that galaxy. So I thought that was pretty clever.
I love how,
So
they put the piece back in and then like they'll never find it again. I'm like, doesn't the whole rebellion know where it is? Like I feel like you could find it again pretty easily.
someone will. I mean, they found Jedi Bob's, so someone's going to find theirs and probably just continue to happen again and again and again. I am glad that they repaired his little droid though, because
Yeah.
like that was like his
But he had the
his
Australian
last
accent.
connection. Yeah, his Australian accent.
Was it Boxy? Was that they called him Boxy or
Oh,
something?
I forget. But that was devastating when Dev essentially just tore him apart. But it's a
But like
droid.
that
You knew he was going
I
to
mean
be.
that's the thing that they do really well though. And like it's a kid it's obviously meant for kids, but the stakes are that we're like kind of bummed out.
Yeah. Right.
Just wonderful. And then the scene with Dev and Sig, I mean all of those scenes were good. And I thought it was cool when he had like the little shepherd staff and he redirected the lightning.
Yep.
That was
Because he
really
learned
cool.
that from the first episode from being at his home planet.
Mhm.
Because of the ion storms. So is there not a Sig in that galaxy then? Like, how does that work?
Dude, don't ask me about, multiverses and how all that shit works because I have no clue.
Because like they were saying that essentially Dev isn't his brother. Like Sig feels elements of his brother in there, but they're still not truly brothers. So it just made me wonder if there is like a Sig in their universe, but maybe that's for the next season. He encounters himself and he's like maybe he's a big douchebag or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah. So, but yeah,
All right. Well, go
so
ahead.
good. I'm so glad to have found the show. It makes me want to go back and watch other Lego
Well,
things.
go watch the other
like
Lego ones.
the Lego Holiday Special.
The Terrifying Tales was pretty good. There's some good
Okay.
parts in that. And then I've seen the holiday one. I haven't seen the vacation one. I want to see that because I've seen clips of, I think I mentioned last time that the Emperor is like on a beach with Darth Vader and we're talking about sand because it's Anakin
Yeah.
Skywalker. So you'll have to check that out. All right. Well, do we want to move on to Temptations of the Force?
Yes. I'd love to talk about it. Okay, let's just get it right out of the way. The name of the book. I mean, they're trying to make it a romance novel, okay? Get that shit out of my High Republic fucking series. Like, why are we doing this? Okay? So I have a lot of negative things to say, but I have some positive things too. When the author sticks with the storyline that's been set up for her or them or they or whatever, right? It's excellent. It's really good. Like I can't tell the difference between authors. So when Roe is in the scenes and when a lot of the pre-existing characters, it's really good. I don't notice any difference. Except when the fucking romance shit happens. And okay, here's the thing, right? So Temptation of the Force was written by
Tessa Gratton.
Tessa Gratton, and if I as soon as you send me the list of her prior works, it's like, oh man, like why did they choose her specifically? Because it didn't seem like she would do well within the Star Wars universe. And when
which
things,
she does a lot of romance type novels. She's considered an activist. So there's definitely a trend in the content that she creates, and she definitely has a passion for certain elements. So go on.
well, again, it doesn't matter like whether, because again, another thing that she's known for is writing LGBTQ romance novels. But to me, I didn't care if it was LGBTQ romances in the book or if they were straight romances. They both sucked. Like
It's
I didn't need
the
to know about.
element of romance itself that doesn't need to be in it.
Well, okay. So like romance in a lot of content, right? I mean, humans totally understand, they identify with romance. When it's done well and seamlessly, it's good. But when it's forced down your throat, like it was in this book, it just jars you so much that you get taken out of the book. And then when it's read by a narrator, it could be even worse.
Yeah.
And it very just it almost makes you feel awkward. Like you get like the awkward sweat, like when these things are
Fast
happening.
forward, fast forward, fast
I
forward.
did. I fast forward through a couple, and like for Elzar and Ava, they have this romance, right? I fast forwarded those. I didn't need that. Like, so again, it's not that it's gay or straight or whatever. It's just bad. It's off-putting. It doesn't belong really in the book.
Well, and some people would be like, well, what about the romance between Padme and Anakin? Well, if you go back to when those movies were coming out, I think a lot of the people's complaints of the time also dealt with like too much of a focus on the romance there.
Yeah, and it was bad because it was so awkward. Like the
Yeah.
lines with the sand. Like,
Yeah.
and again, very poorly done, very, very off-putting, right? I mean, they're so like, dude, like the one of the best episodes of The Last of Us, in my opinion, was between Frank and the one guy. That was a very compelling episode. I didn't care if there were two men,
Right.
there was a woman and a man, two women. The way they did that was extremely well done. And at the end of the episode, it had a really big emotional punch because it was done well.
I will
It
say
is
one
not
thing to
done
that, though.
well.
I will say one thing to that specific example. I agree. I agree with everything you said. Like, fantastic episode. They did it. They did the romance very well. My only issue is I played the video game first, and that is not how the video game went. So it was,
Yeah.
It took me
They
away
hated each
from the
other, didn't
story.
they?
Oh yeah,
They hated each other.
they
in the
hated
video
each
game.
other,
Yeah.
and one was dead the whole time. Committed suicide, I think it was, and
I
the
think so.
body was like still in the room with like the note on it and everything, and he had lived that way for like years. But in this story that they created for the show, yeah, that episode was done very well. Like if that was just its own thing, like if they just expanded that out to a 2 hour long movie, they probably would have won awards. I would.
Yeah, it was great. I liked it. I mean, it didn't make me uncomfortable at all. The actors did a great job,
Well,
but
even
like in the book, she makes such a point to shove it in your face that I just didn't like it. I just it didn't need to be in the books at all.
yeah, there's a few authors like that because you haven't read the young adult or the
No, and I won't. I just have no desire.
there's a couple that are really good that you're missing out on, but there are some that are not as good. And no offense to any of these writers, like, they're probably good in their niche area, but like in terms of Star Wars, just does not fit. Tessa Gratton was one of them, and then Ireland, I think. Just same thing. They're just trying to force things down your throat a little bit, and it really takes you out of the story at least for me.
Well, another thing too. So, okay, so Vanessa Rowe is in the Acolyte.
Mhm.
How the fuck did none of the things in these books ever get mentioned in the Acolyte? Because these are horrific, horrific things that happen within these High Republic books. So, I mean, it's just now it makes Acolyte worse because I mean she's front and center in this book, and she has been front and center in this. It's not really a
Era.
trilogy; it's era. I, like, okay, so they retcon or they like make an excuse that like Yoda, basically. And again, there's like a whole scene on like how hard it is to get rid of. It happens in in the Clone Wars movie, right? When they're finding out about Sifo Dyas
Hmm.
and like how hard it is to like take things out of the Jedi record,
Yeah. Yep.
and somehow Yoda does it, right?
Yep.
About the nameless.
Yep.
Okay, but there's still the Drengir. They didn't
Yep.
like remove that. That's never discussed. I mean, like the Drengir fucked up the Jedi, man. They were like a dark side presence.
Yep.
There's just all these things that happen like under the Jedi's nose. I'm just like, how can the Jedi be this dumb? So here's
That's
another thing.
I was just going to say that's why you have to read Into the Dark. It's a YA book, but it's about the Drengar and it's pretty dark. And I think you would
Yeah.
actually like that one.
Okay. So it's my understanding that the nameless don't really affect non-force users, right? Why
That's
the
my
fuck?
understanding.
Why the fuck wouldn't the Jedi bring non-force users with them? Because they would just shoot them. Oh, there's nameless. Oh, they're dead. Because like you have to be like right next to the nameless for them to like at the end of the book, Makian Ro like he's like invited to Coruscant or he invites himself to Coruscant.
Oh, sweet.
And and it's a really compelling scene and it leaves a huge cliffhanger, which I really enjoyed. I thought it did a very, very good job. And again, all the scenes that were like part of the storytelling that was already happening, those were excellent. Like and the violence and the battle scenes, all very good. Again, it's just the romance. But then, and this is not fault of the author, it's just a fault of like how previous iterations have done this. Because the name must have been around for 3 or 4 books now.
Mm-hmm.
Again, why wouldn't you bring non-force users? It doesn't affect them. So you're in a room, 3 nameless show up because they're easily killed. So the Jedi figure out how to kill them, but it's like they basically have to like redirect their fear. It's very difficult, and like only Barriaga can do it because he's so empathetic. He can like almost sense the fear coming off of the creatures, so he can like tell because they kind of go blind
Yeah.
when the creatures come around. But again, it has to be very close. They have to be very close to the creatures for them to be affected like that. So I mean, like that's a huge plot hole. Why don't? Hey,
Yeah.
Jeff from the RDC. Hey, you busy? No, man, I'm not busy right now. Hey, you mind if you come with us on this mission? Because there's these like creatures that only affect force users, and can you shoot them when you see them? I think I could do that. Yeah, yeah. I maybe can I get a little overtime? Oh yeah, yeah, sure, yeah. It's just kind of dumb. Like it's an easy solution, and just kind of frustrating that like they're always 10 steps behind Maki and Rowe, and they do a great job of kind of showing like what a tactician he is. I mean, he is like a darker version of Thrawn,
Okay.
right? Like Thrawn has his motivations that seem
Yep.
to be grounded. Maki and Rowe just wants to see the world burn.
Yeah.
You
So he's
know?
like the Joker.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great analogy. He is basically the Joker, uh, but he's more evil.
And I'm trying to remember, is it specific towards the Jedi or is it just in general?
It's the Jedi, but the Republic in general.
Okay.
So, and obviously in this time frame, the Jedi very much represent the Republic.
The Republic. Yeah. Because it is at the height of the Republic, which it's also the height of the Jedi. So that kind of coincides. Do they give, you were talking about the Acolyte and you mentioned Vernestra Rowe. Do they give any kind of indication for like the complete change in personality for what you see in the Acolyte versus what we've read in the books?
I mean, not really in the books. And I'm just basing this off the voice actor. It's just she sounds very young.
Yeah, she's like a teenager, or I don't know what the time
I
frame
think
for
she's a
this
little
book
older than
is.
that. I mean, she's a knight in this.
Well, yeah, but she was the youngest. She's the youngest person to have a Padawan. And I think she was still a teenager when she had her Padawan, which was what's his name? Space. It doesn't matter. But I
Bell
think she
Zettifar? No, it was
no, no,
Lone
no, 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 no.
Greatstorm.
Lone Gradestorm was the master for
Bell Zettifar.
Bell Zetavar. Um, no, her Padawan is in like the YA books and stuff like that.
Okay.
I can't remember his name, but he's like a little blonde haired kid. Um, but that, you made the point of they have all this content in the High Republic story, which, they vetted everything out before they even wrote the first one. So they knew of the story when the Acolyte was released. And yet they didn't really bring anything into the Acolyte from the High Republic outside of two things. One, Vernestra Rowe, and then two, the mention of like the great catastrophe.
The Great Hyperspace
Yeah,
Disaster.
the great hyperspace disaster. They just referenced that in the show.
I think they did mention the Drangir in passing.
I don't remember. It could be. I don't recall that. They very well could have, though. But like,
I mean, it is so poorly done. It boggles my mind that they didn't utilize the content that was right there in front of them.
Yeah, and then even with the one of the few things they did use, Vernestra Rowe, she seemed completely different from.
Well, that's because the actress fucking sucked.
You got
she was the DEI hire, and I don't mean that.
I don't even know if
I don't
it was
mean that as far as like. I know there's like an attack on DEI, whatever. I just mean like it was the wife of the director.
Yeah, it was the wife of Leslie Headland. So like that goes to me like beyond DEI. That was like doing her wife a favor. Like, oh, let's get some money here. Like, I'm going to have you be the Vernestra.
Yeah, she's not a good actress. She just was not very good.
Not very compelling.
Even in like because there's honest movie trailers on this. He's like, she has one facial expression.
Oh yeah. Well, and I did a little I don't know if you've seen the TikTok that I did on that. So in every scene that you see her, she has the same like glare.
Yeah.
And I collect like the 6-inch Black Series figures. And even the figure that Hasbro created for this has that same one glare. And like I captioned it, when your acting is so poor that you have one glare, that even Hasbro recognizes it. So I did a little thing on that, but yeah. And like, she was really known for her long purple hair, and she was bald in the show. I'm like, it completely takes it out that it's Vernestra Rowe. It's like some completely new character to me.
Well, yeah, and I mean, she holds the Jedi Order in such high regard, and then the fact that she would go behind their backs in the show.
And she was so positive, so motivating, so energetic in the content that I've read with her. And then the complete opposite, like you said, she's kind of, going behind the backs of the Jedi. She's very solemn. She's very like angry, it seems like. So it's like, this is not Vernestra Rowe. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that the only thing I can justify that is if she experienced something that like completely traumatized her to flip her character. So that's why I asked, did anything in the book happen that would, cause that? But it sounds like no. And there's only one more book. I think the last one releases in June. So be ready
now.
for that.
I would say that there is, I mean, like, these Jedi get affected by the Nameless by their own fault because they're too stupid to bring, again, non-Force users with him on their missions. But I mean, but they do. That's the thing. They do. The RDT is with them in a lot of these missions. They're just not on the ground, on the boots on the ground with them. They're
Mhm.
usually in like it's just if anyone's listening and read the book, can someone explain that to me? Why would they wouldn't use non-force users to combat the nameless who don't affect non-force users? So
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing that too. Maybe it's just what plot armor for the nameless.
so I bet I would give the book at the end of the day a 4 or 5 out of 10. Like it's average. The
Was it better than Phase
parts,
2?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Phase 2 is a clusterfuck. Although they use the great great grandmother Makian Ro. She's
Mhm.
like a ghost that follows him around and like
Yep.
taunts them in this book,
Okay.
and that's done really well. I like that. I like that they put a lot of focus on Bariaga,
Okay.
the Wookiee
Wookie.
Jedi,
Wookie Jedi.
and Bel Zettifar.
Oh, I like those. I like both of those characters.
They're in the like Adventures of the Jedi show that my kid watches.
Oh, yeah, Young Jedi Academy or whatever.
So yeah, it must be in the High Republic because like
Yeah, that's High
Ember.
Republic era. That's High Republic era.
Yeah, and the only reason I knew that was because Ember. I saw Ember. I'm like, and they said Ember, and I was like, oh, I recognize that. I mean, oh, that's the Charhound that Bell has with him.
I hope the Black Series creates some of these characters for their figures because I would love to get my hands on at least more so than the Acolyte ones. Because some of the
Yeah,
characters are very like Maki. You're a big supporter, big fan of Maki and Ro. I think Elzar Mann is great.
God, that makes me seem like a psychopath, but yeah,
No,
he's just a really good villain.
it's been established that you're a villain. You love good villains, so it's understandable why Makian Ro would
Like,
pique your
see, here's the
interest.
thing. I don't love them. I love to watch them get killed at the end of movies. And the worse they are, the more satisfaction you get from them getting murdered.
Well, I just think that in your defense, I think bad guys have a tendency to have more captivating stories. You know,
Sure.
there's a lot more that takes place. They're deeper stories. Like, look at the sequel trilogy. Who's the most captivating character in those three movies?
Kylo.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Because he has the most fascinating story.
It could have been um Snoke, but they fucking wasted his character.
But then, like, look at the original trilogy. The most captivating character is probably Darth Vader
And the Emperor.
and the Emperor. And then you go to the prequel trilogy. I mean, I know he was only around for one movie, but Maul was one of the most captivating. And then
Yep.
Dooku kind of became a captivating character at the same time that Anakin, because Anakin was starting to turn. So, like, the dark or the bad guys just tend to have a better story because there's more substance to it, in my opinion. So I get why you gravitate towards the villains. Makes sense.
I do in the novels, they use the Force. Like they use like the Force in
Not the
quotes
thread. Not the thread.
so fucking much. Yeah. The power of money. Cancellation. But they just use the term the Force so much. The Force this, the Force throws me through here. Blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, dude, we get it. Star Wars. You use the Force.
Yeah.
I don't need you to explain that every fucking 10 seconds.
Oh,
Another
that's
thing is like
interesting.
they'll use like again, this is like the slap in the face to me. Instead of using the character's name, they'll say this is the husband, this is the wife. Why do you got to do that? That's not how it's
Really?
introduced.
So do they get married in the book?
Who?
Or wait, what are you talking about when you say the husband and the?
I meant like if it's a gay couple, they'll instead of saying
Oh,
like this is Bob, this is Jim, this is husband.
yeah.
If it's a straight married couple, this is the wife. This is
Gotcha.
that's not how it's typically introduced.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so. Again, it's just kind of pushing it into your eyeballs, and Again,
Well, I
it
just
doesn't matter what the sexuality is. It's weird.
I don't
It's
think you need to.
forced.
I don't think you need to force any kind of romance in like a Star Wars show. I mean, that's not to say you can't have romances. I mean,
Well, okay, in the original trilogy, Han and Leia,
I was just gonna say,
that's really the right way.
yeah,
I
yep,
love you. I know.
I know.
Like it was so good. And it's just it's not done the right way in the books. They almost like retcon their own philosophies. I swear to God, because I mean Yoda's in the book, right? And so
Yep.
Eldar Man's like going to Yoda asking for advice because he's feeling love towards Avar. And then like Yoda just says, "Oh yeah, that's cool. No big deal."
What?
Yeah, love doesn't necessarily lead to attachments. What
What?
are you talking? I swear to God, dude.
Oh
I
my
mean, so this is
god.
the theme of the book, right? And I hate this theme. I appreciate it in a real world sense, and then I also don't because it's just not how the world works. But the theme is love conquers all. That's pretty much the theme of this book. Hence, temptation of the force. It's a double entendre, and it's a shitty romance novel title. But it's just not how like life works,
It's so
and
cliche.
it's so cliche, dude.
Wow. I almost don't want to read it, but you mentioning that there are good elements. It's not. So is
See,
the
I can compartmentalize and just completely remove some of the things because they don't take away from the story and where the story goes, which I really appreciate. And they left it off on a wonderful cliffhanger. So I can compartmentalize those parts that I don't like and just say, okay, I don't like this, but whatever, we'll trot on.
is
But
it
man, I mean, there's some really cool things that they explore in the book.
is it better than the Jedi Fallen Order book or whatever?
No, that book was fucking hot garbage.
Okay, so it's better than that one at least.
That
So
book can go straight to fucking hell.
that was such a bad read. I'm so glad. Well, I wish I just wouldn't have read it in the first place, but I mean,
I mean, first of all, that book did absolutely nothing to push any story forth.
it was pure romance. It was all
It's pure
about
romance. It was
so like
like
this is
a
why it's a
weird.
problem because why are all these books, all this content that you're releasing pay such a focus to romance? Like, I'm sorry, but I'm sure there are Star Wars, and it's totally fine if you are a fan of this within Star Wars. Like, that's okay, to each their own. But something tells me a majority of the people that are passionate about Star Wars could care less about having true romance novels within Star Wars. Would you agree with that?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't I don't come. I just the romance is completely unnecessary.
the same people that are reading those like adult books on, the bookshelves at stores aren't the ones that are also picking up Star Wars for the most part. It, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I'm going to go on a ledge here and say that people who are reading Star Wars are more into it for the sci-fi elements, the conflict, the character development of good versus evil, that kind of stuff, not the romance between two characters. Just saying.
I think that's all there's to be said. So it was an okay book. When it told the story it needed to tell, I thought it was excellent. When it went to the romance parts, I thought it was horseshit. And so I'm glad I read it because I'm excited about the last book.
June.
So yeah,
And again, read Into the Dark if you want to get more information about the Drengar and how they came into it's about how they came into the galaxy or where they are. So it's a pretty cool story.
yeah, I know. So they have the mother, the progenitor, I think is what they call it, is the one that like is the like main hive mind.
Okay.
So they
Well,
talk about that her in the book because she was on the progenitor was apparently on Starlight Beacon, like imprisoned
okay.
on Starlight Beacon, and then like it goes, crashes into was it Irem? Irem's moon?
Okay.
Whatever moon that they were above, or it was a planet. It was in the ocean, and then apparently it's still alive in the bottom of the sea.
Well, Into the
So it's
Dark
starting
is
to.
it's about so it's during like the great space, what is it?
Hyperspace
Hyperspace
disaster.
disaster. It takes place around that time, and there's these ships that like get stranded in this area, and there's this like space station essentially. It's very like alien-esque too, so you might draw interest in that.
Sure.
They go onto this space station and they think it's I won't say too much, but um it's they thought it was like this station of like evil or whatnot. But in reality, it was just the opposite. It was containing evil from being released, which were the Drengar. So they're like frozen, not maybe not frozen, but they're trapped here, not functioning, not alive. But then the events that take place kind of start this whole Drengar thing. So you might be fascinated by it.
I will say this about the novel. I could be wrong. I was just off the top of my memory. Like there's not like any major death.
Hmm.
So it doesn't like really like shock you in that regard. Like, they don't kill off any of the main characters.
So there's no like fighting or anything.
Well, there's tons of fighting, but they're all, the people that die are just the
Oh, okay.
random
They're
Jedi
just
that you don't even know.
okay. So plot armor for your the characters you know and care about. Cool. Well, I will. I
And
mean,
there's like, okay, I will say the last thing I'll say, there's like this one character, General V's, like she always gets away. Like she's a character I hate in the sense that like she's a good bad guy, and I want her to come to justice. Like right when they're about to kill her, she goes like pocket sand, and then like just gets away. Like what the fuck? Like after the third time it happens, I'm just like, okay, come on.
yeah. And I'm tired of Star Wars being in going in a certain direction. I mean, though you said there's still some good elements. I just I want to see Star Wars return to the glory days. Just don't know if we'll ever get it. Unless maybe George Lucas does come back. Who knows?
Yeah, I do think Disney has a huge hand in it going the direction it is going in. For whatever reason, it's stupid.
Well, and can we start by what we were texting back and forth about earlier today? Can we just keep it to one writer if you're going to have like a trilogy? Just keep one writer so there's consistency and like a knowledge base of where you want the story to go. I'm tired of like bringing in, if it's shows or movies, like different directors, if it's books, bringing in different authors. Like it was Disney's way of being like, all right, let's all bring in different points of view. And, this is kind of going along like the DE and I stuff. Like, let's get a bunch of different points of view. That's different angles. Like, I get it, but the focus, as we've preached many times, and always needs to be the story. Story needs to come first, and then everything else you can have flow naturally. But in these works, you have, this author is romance novel, LGBTQ romance novel writer. That's what's the focus of this book, and then it's just put into a Star Wars element. I'm assuming. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So, like, have it be the other way around. Have the story be first. And I heard a really good strategy from I forget who was talking about this, but I was watching it on YouTube. When you create the characters first, like create a character in your mind as a writer. Don't create the story first, create the character. And then the story will revolve around those characters. If you create the story first and then introduce the characters have a tendency to be not authentic. So, but we don't have to dive too deep into that. I want to see good stories return to Star Wars, and I I just feel like we
Yeah,
haven't.
and they're a hit or miss. I mean, obviously Andor's a wonderful story. It's just
But and in
they need to
Andor,
more.
you had Tony
They need to hit more.
Gilroy do the whole thing. So you had one person leading the whole thing. Just have one person do it. But all right. Well, we will wrap it up for today. I'm sure you're looking forward to the final novel coming out in June. And yeah, we mentioned Andor, that'll be coming out in April. So we got some stuff coming in the near future and some more Lego stuff to take care of us in the meantime. So any final thoughts from you, Dustin?
What's the next piece of content coming out?
Andor.
Star Wars. Yeah, Andor. So obviously very excited about that.
And there's also a book on the Bad Batch that's going to be released in June. I think Sabotage or something like that. So
I guess we should say, we sent Luke our questionnaire and he answered to our delight. So hopefully we'll have him on next week. He was traveling. He was in Minnesota in a hotel, and he's like, I'll join you, but I won't contribute anything. So I'm like, well, let's get you on next time.
Yeah, I mean, let's find a time that works well for him, so that we can get the best out of what we want from him, because I think he does have a lot to share, and I'm excited to learn about the things he has to say, especially since I think he has a lot of similar passions to me in terms of like the things he collects, because I know he's a big Black Series collector of the 6-inch figures. And the only other thing I will mention, I'll give a shout out to a YouTube channel called Skywalker Stories. If you haven't heard of it, it's really interesting. It uses AI and goes into a lot of elements of like the characters that we love. Like there's a lot on Darth Vader, there's a lot on Emperor and Luke and stuff like that. And it dives into a lot of the things that we don't get in the movies, but are like pretty awesome. So just go watch a few of the YouTube clips. They're like 5 minutes long. They're really short, and they're just different interactions of certain characters. And the voices sound spot on. The AI is a little fidgety because it's just kind of like a recycled image that has a little bit of motion to it.
Yeah.
But the dialogue is what makes it really worth it. So if you haven't checked it out, Dustin, give it a listen.
Sure. Skywalker Series. So it's called
Skywalker Stories.
Okay.
So listeners out there, give it a check out. It's pretty cool. So I will speaking of channels, I will speak to our social media handles. You can find us on Twitter at DetBlockAA23pod, on Instagram, detention_block_AA_23, our Facebook group and YouTube channel, Detention Block AA23, a Star Wars podcast. And then you can find us on TikTok at DetBlockAA23. Again, hit that subscribe button. Give us your follows, likes, downloads, ratings, reviews, all the above. We greatly appreciate any little thing that you can do to help us out, and look forward to next week, hopefully having Luke on, and we'll dive into some awesome discussion around his passion and what brought him to the Star Wars fanship. So, and what a name, Luke. I'm sure he's gotten that once or twice in his life. So looking forward to having him on. Well, with that, have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week. And we look forward to talking to everyone again next week. And as always,
may the
force be with you.
Oh,
a little better. At least I knew it was coming this time. Last time I was like, oh, he's going to say it, so I'm going to stop. But all right. Well, we'll talk to all you guys later. Bye.
Thanks for calling. This is Han Solo, and I'm going to be keeping you company for the next few hours right here on the Midnight Shift. Something's